Grammy Award-winning artist Carly Pearce canceled her scheduled performance in Jeffersonville, citing threat of severe weather. City officials are now claiming Pearce won't refund the money it paid her for the performance or reschedule. Jeffersonville Mayor Mike Moore called the situation disheartening. Pearce was set to perform during a free concert hosted by the city called Jammin' and Jeff at the River Stage.
I understand, but I kind of wish they would have let us know a little bit earlier. I mean, it is what it is. Hopefully, I'm praying to God she can reschedule.
Pearce addressed the cancellation on Twitter, saying, quote, "It's become clear that performing tonight will not be possible. Please stay safe, and I can't wait to see you all again soon." WHAS11 is working to get in contact with Pearce's team to address the city's claims, but has been unable to do so as of now. And an update tonight on Friday's shooting in Westport Village, that's in East Louisville. We now know the victim has died from her injuries. Linden police responded to the shooting just before 8 Friday night. Linden Police Chief Rob Schroeder said officers arrived to bystanders helping the woman who had been shot several times in the parking lot.
Acts of violence like this are unacceptable. They terrorize members of our community. Thankfully, that's not a situation we deal with in Linden, in Graymore, Devondale, and in the other cities that we serve, but it's still a concern to all of us who live in this community.
We still do not know the victim's age or any possible motive in the shooting. Linden Police asked LMPD's homicide unit to take over the investigation. Anyone with information is encouraged to reach out to LMPD's anonymous tip line at 574-LMPD. And a sad update from the Louisville Zoo today. We're learning Fitz, the 3-year-old elephant, has died. Fitz was diagnosed with a deadly virus known as EEHV Thursday. Most elephants are typically born with the virus or exposed to it shortly after birth, though the virus often remains dormant in their bodies. Many elephants can fight off the disease, but it's much harder for weaned calves to fight off. The Louisville Zoo released the following statement, quote, "Fitz held a special place within our zoo family," adding, quote, "His impact will live on long after with his memory."
I strongly disagree with the court's decision here. So today, I want to assure our students, our borrowers, and families across America, our fight is not over. We're taking action.
That was Education Secretary Miguel Cardona talking about the Supreme Court's decision to strike down President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. The White House approved the debt relief plan under the HEROES Act, but Republican states pushed back, accusing the administration of executive overreach. The majority of the justices agreed. The ruling stands to impact millions of borrowers, many frustrated over the court's ruling.
It's a sad day, but I do think that this is a large swath of the population, and it's a large swath of the population that was really told, get a degree. This is like how you move forward, and I can't count the number of times when I first graduated and it was the recession that the requirements for some of the most basic jobs suddenly became know everything and have every degree.
So that's Hannah Moore. She graduated in 2007 with nearly $100,000 in student debt. Moore has made payments toward the debt, but still owes about $88,000. The White House is already moving forward with new plans for student debt relief. Education Secretary Cardona said the Biden administration will look to provide relief under a 1965 law known as the Higher Education Act. The administration will also create a temporary 12-month on-ramp repayment program. It will remove the threat of default for borrowers who can't pay their bills.
We're going to open up an alternative path to debt relief for as many borrowers as possible, as quickly as possible. While we acknowledge the court's decision, we began the negotiated rulemaking process on settlement and compromise authority today.
26 million people applied for student debt relief under Biden's plan. It came with an estimated cost of $400 billion over 30 years. Now to another landmark ruling this week from the High Court impacting millions of Americans. Thursday, the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action policies, effectively ending race as a consideration in college admissions nationwide. Writing for the conservative majority, Chief Justice John Roberts argues students must be treated as individuals, not on the basis of race. Some students at one of the schools involved in the case, Harvard, say it will be a detriment to college students everywhere.
I think that race is a very important factor into admitting students into Harvard or into any school for that matter. And I strongly believe that because I feel like marginalized communities, such as like different races. I feel like race plays a really big factor in like poverty, and I think that students who come from like backgrounds like mine, for example, I'm from Wareham, Massachusetts, and it's like a small town. Schools with like underfunded high schools and stuff tend to have more students that happen to be minorities, and I think that those students deserve to have a chance at getting into a school like Harvard by having their race be considered in the application process.
Other students said they feel doing away with affirmative action will lead to more legacy students being accepted into colleges over students who lack those same opportunities. Here in Kentuckiana, we saw plenty of reactions to the ruling. Major universities are still promising to prioritize diversity on campus. Meanwhile, Kentucky Attorney General and gubernatorial candidate Daniel Cameron came out in support of the ruling. He said the decision reaffirms what the American dream is all about, adding it will help eliminate racial discrimination. WHAS11 spoke with U of L Pan-African Studies professor Dr. Ricky Jones, who is critical of the ruling.
The question is, what is Black America going to do? How are we going to respond to this? Because the message that we're getting in a lot of these places that neither we nor our children are really welcome in these spaces. So there's just a chilling effect. This isn't just concerning, it's terrifying.
In a statement, Indiana University said it has long held the belief that the strongest learning environments equip students to learn from those with wide-ranging viewpoints and diverse backgrounds that may differ from their own. Other schools like Bellarmine and the University of Kentucky said they're still looking into the details of the High Court's decision. In another Supreme Court opinion released Friday, the conservative majority agreed with a Christian web designer who argued undertaking work from same-sex couples conflicts with her religious views and freedom of speech. All three liberals on the court dissented, calling the decision heartbreaking. Colorado's anti-discrimination law prohibits discriminating against LGBTQ people and requires any businesses that are open to the public to serve all equally.
My case is about speech, and when speech is concerned, speech should be protected. Whether your views on marriage are similar to mine or perhaps different, nobody should be forced to create a message that goes against his or her convictions.
It's very disappointing. I think there's a big rabbit hole that you could go down there in terms of, is this something that, could you not serve people of color if it's something that you believe strongly? Are we hearkening back to a time of racial segregation with a decision like this? It's not something that necessarily only applies to LGBTQ people. It's kind of open-ended, and it's very disappointing.
The decision is a win for those championing religious rights and a retreat on gay rights for the court. For nearly 3 decades, the court has expanded the rights of LGBTQ people, most notably giving same-sex couples the right to marry in 2015. Now, back here in Kentuckiana, we've told you about it all week. Riverlink has increased toll prices by nearly 5%, and those changes take place starting today. WHAS11's Taylor Woods and photojournalist Elijah McKenzie spoke with some unhappy drivers about the changes.
Toll rates have increased the highest it's ever been, rising from a 2.5% to 4.9%.
I think it's too high. It shouldn't have no toll on it anyway. Some people can't afford it.
Drivers like Bruce Baker say the toll hike is too steep. It's up $5.04 for passenger vehicles or $2.52 for those with the Riverlink account. Prices apply to the I-65 bridges, the Kennedy and the Lincoln and the East End Bridge.
Well, every time we look up, they're increasing that cost. So it makes things a little difficult. Like I said, we try to avoid the toll.
The price uptick will affect thousands of Louisvillians who drive from Indiana to Kentucky. Drivers like Laveda Kent Baker and her husband say they use other routes to avoid tolls. Still, they admit plenty of their friends depend on the toll routes daily.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Like I said, I ain't never been through that way, but they said it's real frustrating. You got to pay just to get to someplace else.
With inflation still high, the Bakers feel the toll hike is an added hit to their wallets.
I feel sorry for them because it's a necessity, and if it's not averaging their budget, then it's definitely going to cause them some difficulties.
The Bakers are among many Kentuckiana drivers who wonder why the need for steep price hikes year after year.
I'm just trying to figure out with the increase where all the funds going. They're not making it clear, but they keep increasing on almost everything nowadays.
In Louisville, Taylor Woods, WHAS 11 19 on your side.